All right, what's going on, fellas?
How's it going?
Oh
What's up?
man, yes, we are in here. We are in the house for damn good dogs. It's the showcase, and my boy Bone. We are in here. So today we're
Yeah.
gonna, yes, sir. We're gonna cover today. We're gonna preview the Georgia South Carolina game, and also the experts that you see above me are going to give you a gauge, a temperature of what they're seeing of their Bulldogs so far, and we'll take any questions and answer those as well. So that's what we have on tap for today. All right. So y'all ready to rock, gentlemen?
Yes, sir. I just had the volume on my computer there, so that was fun. I was double hearing
Oh,
it.
oh,
Right,
okay. Well, there you go.
right over there.
It's ingrained now.
Exactly.
All right. Damn good dogs. Here we go. 2 day, September 12th, 2023. Georgia Bulldogs have a game coming up this weekend against South Carolina, the South Carolina Gamecocks. But before we get into all that, gentlemen, uh, what are your initial thoughts of the Dogs so far?
You know,
I'll take
it's.
it.
Oh, go
Go ahead.
ahead. Yeah. No, you go ahead.
I mean, for me, I've been watching the offense more because we got a new quarterback, so my eyes have been more glued to the offense. I think what I see is a quarterback who's we obviously have a new offensive coordinator, so it's not just the quarterback; it's just an offense that's trying to adjust to this new system. What I do see is a lot of weapons on the outside. Um, I see obviously Brock Bowers. We got another really good receiving tight end, Oscar Delt. I see some. They've really looking at the two transfers, especially Lovett. Um, I like what I saw from him. I think he's really good. Rosemary Jack Saint coming back. The emergence of people like Muse, Makai Muse. Like I think the outside, these skilled people on the outside are I think we have a lot of skill positions on the outside. The running backs, we're trying to find our footing with the run game still. But that's what's encouraging to me is the just the amount of weapons we have on the outside. So that's what's impressed me so far. What you got, Bone?
Yeah, I think you're right on. And I remember in our preview show, I mean, that was what you said. You thought the strength of this offense was going to be were those outside weapons. And I think you're right. I mean, we haven't seen Kendall Milton at full go yet at running back. You know, he's still kind of I think they're got him on a little bit of a pinch count with this hamstring injury. But I mean, Robinson's looked really, really good. We haven't had McConkey as a wide receiver. He's been out. He's been hurt.
That's a good point.
So we'll see when he comes back. But like Brooks said, we got so many weapons on the outside that I think I think it's going to be tough for any defense to cover it. I don't know that either one of us had Muse as the leading receiver through 2 games. A former, walk on scout team guy. It's been pretty impressive to watch him go. But I think he'll make some big plays when we face stiffer competition. He's a small guy, but he's fast as hell. Likes can move with the ball. I think he's going to be huge on special teams for us. So I mean, I've been kind of the same way, Brooks. It's hard to judge the defense really in these kind of games, and so really all eyes for me have been on Carson Beck and the freshman running backs and seeing what they're going to do. And Carson, for not looking all that great, I don't think any Georgia fan thinks he has looked amazing. His numbers have been pretty damn good. He's 72% completion, averaging 9.5 yards a throw. I mean, he's almost thrown for 600 yards already in 2 games. So I mean, you can't argue with that. And it'll be really interesting to see us against a little bit better competition this Saturday and kind of how we look there.
Yeah. From the secret text line, there was some buzz this morning about throwing a little money down on Carson Beck for Heisman. A little chat about that this morning.
Yeah, he's
Pretty
plus
good odds
plus
for that.
30 plus 3,900 right now.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
we had a little chat about it.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Well, what about the matchup with Ball State? There was a couple people I know that went to the game and they're Georgia Bulldog fans, and they wasn't too impressed. Or they being tough critics, or what did you all gather from that matchup?
Go ahead, Brooks.
Yeah. What I was looking at, I saw. I mean, the first quarter, I was just like, oh no. Uh, we're
There we all
sleepwalking
were.
through this game. We didn't really necessarily look good in the first game, and I was like, oh man, this isn't boding well for us. In the second quarter, we snapped out of it and put up 31 points. Again, Makai Muse, who's averaging 26 yards a punt return, huge punt return, gave us a lot of momentum there. Uh, and so from there, I mean, it was just that was really the spark we needed. It was good to see Rosemary Jack Saint come back. He had a touchdown reception. Dylan Bell had a really nice run. So we really turned it on in the second quarter, and the secondary made some big plays. Starks had an interception. We had that wild interception off somebody's foot. So it was nice to see we getting the defense get turnovers. I'm a little worried about the pressure. We only have one sack so far this season, but again, how much is Kirby showing in terms of blitzes and stunts, and he tends to be vanilla in these type of games. So I'm gonna chalk that up to that and say we can probably get pressure a little better than what we've been showing. Um, but yeah, I thought we had a really solid performance outside of the first quarter. What you got, Bone?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but a couple of my friends made fun of me about this one. But I talked about the freshman kicker in the season preview show. A little concern there. You never know. He did miss a
Mm-hmm.
kick early on. He's 12 for 12 on extra points. But, um, you know, I want to see him coming out real strong by the time we get, halfway through the season and see some experience under his belt. So he missed the kick there, the true freshman, but he did turn it around and make kicks later. We did get some lucky breaks on defense, like Brooks was talking about with these interceptions. But you want to see a team capitalize when the ball gets batted up in the air or goes off somebody's foot, and we did both times. We've got the opportunities and we've capitalized on them. So I think that's always good to see. Dylan Bell, like you said, kind of had to break out a little bit with a couple of great runs. So, former wide receiver, I believe, that we've kind of converted to running back / wide receiver. So that kind of shows me that Kirby doesn't feel real great about the depth at running back. We're trying to get some more guys in there and getting them involved. But I think all in all, we started out slow. That's kind of to be expected to me for a noon game against a lesser opponent. I think it's going to be a whole different atmosphere on Saturday, and I think we'll come out like the Georgia team we are.
Yeah, a couple other things. I like the deep ball touch that Carson Beck showed. He had a really nice pass, like over the top pass to Cash Jones.
Yeah,
He had a really long pass to Arian Smith. So I like to see that. That's what I thought he could bring. I thought he had uh, the ability to throw the ball downfield. So I was really encouraged by a couple of his passes. I will say, really, one kind of thing I noticed is Brock Bowers really had an off game.
yeah, he did.
We set him up once on a little bubble screen, and we had the blocking set up, and it was probably going to be a touchdown, and he dropped it. I had a little back shoulder throw that I thought, normally we have such high expectations for this guy. Like, he's going to bring this down. And the defender got his arm in there and knocked it out. But, that's a play you're like, oh, he's going to come up with that. So that was it. That was the one thing. I was like, Brock Bowers had a little off game. So,
Yeah, I do. I mean, that game really hurt his chances for the 1,000 yards this year, for the, maybe Heisman run he's won. I mean, he can obviously still have a great year, but those are the kind of games you got to pad the stats in a little bit to reach those kind of goals you want to hit. And that was a little disappointing to see.
yep, I agree.
That's a
Okay,
good
yeah,
question from my boy Scrim there.
yeah, and welcome to the show, Jeremy. And there's your question: does playing without your full battery of receivers limit Bauer's production. What do you think, gentlemen?
I don't think anything limits Bauer's production. I think, and again, you got to know Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart ain't showing you everything. Is Brock Bowers going to line up and take some into rounds? Is they going to move him around? I mean, yeah, of course they are. Okay, let's not get out of hand with like what happened at Ball State. Again, he had a touchdown. He looked like he had a touchdown. If he would have hung on to that ball, and that would have went for about 50, 60 yards, I think. So let's pump the brakes there. I don't think. I think he had. I mean, like I was talking about, I think he has a full battery of receivers. I know we're missing McConkey, and he's a really good player. But like I said, there's a bunch of talent on the outside. You talk about Lovett. You talk about Ra Thomas, Arian Smith, Rosemary Jackson. I mean, he's got a lot out there. And again, that's going to show at some point when you can put all those skill receivers out there, and you got to cover Brock Bowers too, and you could even split out Oscar Delp with them. I
Yep.
mean, how are you? It's going to be hard. That's going to be hard to guard. That's going to be hard to cover, and I think that is going to. I think we're going to have to throw the ball because I'm a little worried about our running game. So,
Well, I think it almost works the opposite way. I think the stronger we are out at wide receiver, maybe the less Bowers gets touches because Bowers is going to be the focal point of every defense that we play against. So, I mean, he's going to be double teamed. They're going to be going after him. So it's going to really open up guys, just like we do on defense a lot of times. When we have these defensive stars that are getting double teamed all the time, or these defensive tackles that could take up two blockers. That opens up these edge rushers to come in and make things happen. So I think Bowers in a lot of ways will work like that. And I think he's a team guy. He's already solidified himself as, to me, the best tight end in the country. So I don't think he needs stats to move himself forward in that direction. So I think it might even work the opposite way there.
Oh yeah, and then David has a shout out here. A couple things actually for Dave from David. He's saying, "Are you sure? Don't underestimate Bobo's ability to forget about Bowers. What is up with that?"
Bobo, he utilized the tight end a lot. When he was our offensive coordinator before, we've always been a really tight end heavy team. So I don't think he's going to forget about Brock, but that's just my opinion.
yeah, I mean, we have spread the ball. We have spread the ball out a lot. Um, but I mean, Brock Bowers is such a transcendent talent. I don't think you can forget about him. And even if you we're not giving him touches, I mean, he's still. I mean, you talk about somebody who just being out there is taking all the attention of the defense. So I mean, even utilizing him as a decoy is still utilizing his strengths. So. But he'll get his touches. I promise you. When push comes to shove, and it's a closer game, we're going to try to get the ball to our best player. I'm confident in that. So
We haven't mentioned Robinson at all. What did you think about his performance, Brooks? I thought he's looking really good at running back. He's a freshman and he's leading the team right now at 6.3 yards per carry with 2 touchdowns. I mean, how do you think he's looked this year?
yeah, like you said, he's leads team in carries, got that 6.3 average. Um, I've always Kirby Smart's always been the we've always been the one to kind of like distribute the carries around. But I think in this case, I think Kirby Smart's looking, seeing what he's got.
Yeah.
He's just seeing what he's got. He's using these 2 games to spread the carries around. And once we get into SEC play, you're going to see him. He's going to shrink that rotation.
Yeah.
And he's going to start giving, who he thinks the best running back is more carries. So I've been impressed so far, and I think he's going to get it. He's like I said, I think he's clearly one of the better running backs. He's proved himself. So I think as we move on, maybe even you see it this weekend, we're going to start limiting the amount of running backs you see on the field.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about that game coming up in a few here. David has another question out here. What do we think about the outside linebacker group? He says nobody stands out as a consistent edge rushing threat at this point. What do you think about this? We appreciate you, David, with the comment.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to judge the defense at this point. I think we've been real basic. We don't have but one sack, but we've only given up 14 points. Um, or did we give up? It was 3 points yesterday, wasn't it? Okay, we've given up 10
Three.
points, so 3-7. Uh, but again, like I said, I look more. I mean, when I was impressed by the secondary, I like Starks and Bullard. Um, those are two. I think those guys make plays when the ball's in the air. I think you're not going to see a dominant, and that's been the case for a couple seasons. You don't have that dominant edge rusher at Georgia. You just have a bunch of people who get 3 or 4 sacks. So I think that's more what I'm looking for. I don't think anybody will emerge. I don't think anybody's going to emerge and give you 7 or 8 sacks. But what you are looking for is a lot of people getting 2, 3, 4 sacks. And again, you're going to see Kirby. You're going to see this defense dial it up, stunts, blitzes as we go on to the season. Again, I've been looking at the offense, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback. The defense will get a chance to. I'm going to be looking at the defense starting this week against a really good, a pretty good, one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC, I think. So that's my thoughts. What you got, Bone?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, we're never a high sack team. Like we don't necessarily have any of these guys that, Kirby addressed it the other day because they asked him about recruiting, what is it like to recruits when no one's getting these high sack numbers at Georgia? And he said it looks like, 20 and $30 million they're making in the NFL. So, I mean, it's not a hard sell. We play a very disciplined brand of football where everyone has their assignments. They take care of their assignments on the line. Like I said earlier, we got tackles that are eating up 2 linemen, freeing up room for these edge linebackers to run through, and inside linebackers to run through. So I don't have any fear about this defense. I think that, like Brooks said, we're going to spread the sacks and the tackles for loss and the hurries around like we usually do. We have also a heavy rotation. We're playing a lot of guys on the line and linebackers. So we do that a little differently, but we're just so deep, that I think it allows us to do that. So it will be interesting to see who emerges as that lead kind of edge rushing linebacker because we usually seem to have one of those. And I don't really know who that's going to be yet, but it will be interesting to see who emerges there.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We have anything else out here. Turnbull. There you go. Comment right there from Turnbull. Kirby may or may not have planned that recruiting question. That was a walk-off answer, though.
Yeah, he did. He took that question. He walked off in the press conference with it, and it was a pretty big statement made.
Yeah, I
Shut
mean,
up.
let's one thing I want to mention. I love this is the thing I loved about this past weekend. Alabama loses, and you got the Texas fans chanting "We want Georgia"
Yep.
after the win. What about
Uh-oh.
that? Just signaled to me like where we are as a program.
Yep.
Like, it used to be "We want Bama," and now it's "We want Georgia." And I'm gonna go off on a little tangent here. I watched all these analysts pick Alabama to win the SEC, to win the national championship, and everybody was just saying it's
Uh-oh.
because they're going to play with this chip on their shoulder. Or they're going to – it's Saban, revenge here. Nobody mentioned any type of you mentioned – are you going to mention like the quarterback?
We're
You going
just
to mention
disrespected.
anything? I mean, I just didn't see it. Like going into this season, I just looked at those quarterbacks and I was like, I mean – I don't know. I just didn't see it. And you saw Milrow. If you kept him he's a hell of an athlete now, but you keep him in the pocket, this guy can't throw the ball.
Yeah, my guy Jeremy Scrimmager that commented earlier is a huge Texas fan, and I told him before the game, I was like, I'm not buying Milrow at quarterback. I'm just not buying it. I don't, he hasn't proven himself. He's been one-dimensional in the first game. You're right. I mean, Kirk Herbstreit said on every show he could get on that Alabama was the team to beat this year. I haven't heard an apology or anything yet, but hopefully we'll hear something soon.
Yeah,
Good luck.
I didn't get that. I mean, I get that Saban deserves the respect, but come on now. Sorry, a little off tangent there. Had to get that in.
Oh, no. Oh no, you should. I mean, that's just how it is. And I think Alabama. You can see the tide using that word there, but you can see the tide is turning here. Uh, Whereas it looks like if you use a race analogy, it's like Georgia's starting to get ahead. You know what I'm saying? They're starting to run past Alabama a little bit, and you just
Look,
see it. And but
that's
I was gonna say,
go
how
ahead.
do y'all? But how do you guys really feel about that Texas Alabama game? Before we do transition to the Georgia game coming up this week, uh,
Uh,
well, you also, well, I mean, I know you talked about the quarterback, but overall, did you still think that Alabama would pull that one out?
I thought Texas was going to win it, and I live down in Houston, Texas, so
Okay,
with a buddy that's a huge Texas fan, I got to watch most of their games last year, and I saw that we all watched the Texas Alabama game last year that they would have won if it wasn't for their quarterback getting hurt, and they the game to me was Texas's defensive line against Alabama's offensive line, and Texas's defensive line is very impressive. And they won that battle, and winning that battle won them that game. And I thought Texas was going to win it, and I don't give a crap about the SEC. I tell this to anybody that'll listen. I want them to lose every game except Georgia. So, I'm all about I'm all about the SEC foes going down because that's who we recruit against. That's who we fight against for players.
I like that, Jonathan. I like
Yes,
that.
sir.
Well,
I like
I
that.
guess the other thing that has to be mentioned about that game was the two best receivers on the field were former Georgia players, A.D. Mitchell and Jermaine Burton, two former Georgia wide receivers. I assume Alabama never wants to see A.D. Mitchell on the field again because he just continues to just burn them ever since he was on. He was on the field, made that big catch in the national championship game a couple seasons ago. Just absolutely destroyed them Saturday. So I mean that was fun to watch. I mean, you hate when players you hate when they transfer, but A.D. Mitchell did give us the championship. So I'm not that mad at him.
No.
It was good to see. It was good to see him put it to Alabama. But I will say I'm unlike you. I do like to see the SEC. Outside of when we play them, I do like to see the SEC succeed. So, you know, the struggles of the SEC kind of had me a little, down. Although, I mean, I'm not going to put much stock when you start like touting your wins over Texas A&M and Vanderbilt and South Carolina. Like, okay, like, that's fine.
Florida.
I mean, yeah, you want to tout your wins over those people. That's fine. I
I
mean,
guarantee you, Brooks wasn't rooting for Florida. I can at least tell you that.
no, I wasn't. I just, the SEC, all the SEC's overrated talk. It's fine. I mean, go out and win a national. I mean, as another conference, go win a national championship. That's all I got to say. Like, you want to say you're better than the SEC? Like, go win a national championship.
Yeah, Brooks is dropping down the hammer today.
Yeah, he's
All
coming in
right.
hot.
I got some
Yeah.
takes, man. I got some takes.
Oh. Well, David has another take. He says that KJ Bolden's visiting this weekend. What are the chances of him flipping back from FSU?
I like him, man. I was reading about this earlier, and I think he's going to come into an amazing environment Saturday in Athens. Um, the South Carolina guy Tonka Hemingway at SEC Media Days didn't put Sanford Stadium as one of the toughest road environments, and Kirby said that's billboard material for us this weekend. So I think the fans are going to come in crazy. I think we're gonna play well, and I think he's going to have a great recruiting trip. It's going to be a beautiful Saturday in Athens. So I think we got some really good chances to flip him back over.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm not a noted recruiting expert, okay? So I'm just going to let Vaughn carry that one.
I just
There
happened
we
to hear
go.
about it today. I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about it. But yeah, I think that would be a nice win for Georgia. But Georgia's gotten to the point now we don't really recruit anymore. We're more picking the players we want, and it's kind of where Alabama was in their heyday. And so if Georgia wants a guy, and if they don't want to play here and they want to go somewhere else and go to Florida State and win every other year, then they should go there, and I'm fine with that.
All right. Speaking of Bama, turn Turnbull says is Bama O line as bad as it looks?
Let's go right back making the checks out of the line. I mean, I thought Texas's D line handled them pretty good. So I mean, you could argue Milrow is not going to be patient in the pocket and he's going to sprint out every chance he gets. I mean, sure, that's some of it. But I thought Texas handled that Alabama offensive line. So
I think it was a lot in the quarterback. I think that he, back to that like offense in the early 2000s where everybody had to look at the sideline for their checks. I think he seemed to have one receiver in mind on every play. He seemed to, not have a great grasp of the offense yet, and that's something he can develop. But I don't think he had it Saturday, and I think it did make the offensive line look worse than it was. But I do think Texas's defensive line is incredible, and they got a lot to offer.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that covers that part of it, guys. We definitely appreciate all the comments that are coming through. Keep them rolling. We're gonna take a short break, and then when we come back after this 30 to 40-second break, we're gonna get into the matchup for this upcoming weekend. So we'll be right back. All right. Will the South Carolina Gamecocks, will they be picking their teeth up this weekend off the field?
look, I got one stat for this. South Carolina, North Carolina. North Carolina had 9 sacks and 16 tackles for a loss. Okay? Now, South Carolina may have some skill positions, have some good skill positions, especially the quarterback. I do like Spencer Rattler, but I've said the same thing last year, and I'll probably say the same thing again until they prove me wrong. They cannot compete with Georgia on the lines of scrimmage. That's where the disadvantage is for them. And until you can recruit and get depth there, you're just not going to be able to compete with Georgia no matter what skill positions you have. So it's really simple for me. They're not going to be – Spencer Rattler's going to be running for his life. And South Carolina, we're going to be able to run the ball, control the line of scrimmage on both sides. And I think the line tells you all you need to know. It's -20. It was -27 last time I looked. I
Oh
think
my goodness.
Georgia's going to win by more than 20 points.
Wow, -27. What about that, Bone?
We won 48-7 last year. This is when I think we kind of put the country on notice that we're back for our repeat. I think we're going to do that again this year. I mean, Georgia's played these two cupcake teams, and we walked over them, and no one's paid attention because we haven't played a game, and it makes sense. And I think we're going to. The problem with South Carolina, they're incredibly one-dimensional. Their leading rusher, DeCarrion Joyner, has 23 carries for 65 yards, averaging 2.8 yards per carry. That's their leading rusher. All they've got is Spencer Rattler and the wide receiver Xavier Legette. That's their team. If you go up against Georgia and you're one-dimensional on offense, you don't have a chance. If we know that all we got to do is shut down one facet of your game. I remember, I don't know, a few years ago, we were playing Kentucky to see who went to the SEC East. And I was living in Kentucky at the time, and everybody was like, oh, we have a chance, right? And I'm like, no. All you do is run the ball. If you're one-dimensional against Georgia's defense, with Kirby Smart game planning, with the players we have, I just don't think you have much of a chance. So I think, like Brooks said, Georgia's going to dominate the line of scrimmage. I don't think they're going to be able to get a running game going. I think they'll complete some passes and have a few highlights here and there on the passing game, but I just don't see them being able to hang. And I see a 20, 24, 25 point win by Georgia pretty comfortably. And I think Georgia's going to come out fired up. I mean, it's a 3:30 game. It's on CBS. We're back to playing a decent team. The crowd's going to be crazy. Kirby's already pumped the crowd up, so I think it's going to be a fun atmosphere, and I think we're going to be flying around beating ass.
Yeah, I definitely expect to cover on this one. This one should be over with about the first hour. It should be now. I think there'll be more focus from Georgia uh, against South Carolina. You know, even though they know they can win this game, like you said earlier, I think you guys said it, hit the nail on the head. They're gonna make a statement, and so expect them to make this easy work. David has a question. He says, "Who's better right now, Carson Beck or Spencer Rattler? Who's better right now?"
I think I was actually thinking about that before the podcast. I think Radler's the better quarterback of the two
Right.
right now. He's got experience. He's got a good arm. He's got a lot of experience, and I think he is the better quarterback right now. I think at the end of the season, Carson Beck's going to be the better quarterback, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to judge Carson Beck after 2 games against uh, mediocre opponents. To
Who's
be
better
kind.
right now was the question,
Right?
Brooks.
Yeah, there's got to be Spencer. It's got to be Spencer Rattler, right? Um, yeah, I mean, it's got to be. I don't know. You really don't know what you have in Carson Beck right now. So you got to go Spencer Rattler.
Anything else there, John? Any more? Want to dig into that anymore, or is that good enough?
No, I just think that's the only place on the when it comes to coaching, wide receivers, defense, line, everything. That's the only thing where the only place where South Carolina has an edge. But once again, I think they're one dimensional. Um, and if I don't care if you're running Bo Jackson out there, if you're one dimensional against Georgia's defense, I don't think you have much of a chance.
Now have you played against Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl?
He was a beast.
All right, I got a good one for you, Bone. Who's the better motivator, Deion Sanders or Kirby Smart?
Yeah,
Ooh,
I don't. I, it's very different styles.
Come
I
on,
think I think
give me
I
an
think
answer.
I think Dion is all about us against the world, and I think Kirby is about being elite, being as good as you can possibly be. And I think that's two different styles. I think one of those has a chance to burn out faster than the other. And I think Kirby's style does not burn out because every year you're challenging yourself to be the best you can possibly be. And I think Dion's that shtick might get old after a while. I don't know if it will. I'm enjoying watching him, so I'm going to go Kirby.
Yeah, that's a good question. If if Dion goes to like a blue blood program and he loses that us against the world kind of mentality, point that angle, you think I don't know if it would be interesting to see if that could work.
I
I
think
think it would
it,
work. I think it would work for a while. I just think I think Dion's like his animosity with the press right now. I think there's a couple of things that he's kind of building up that might not be good long term. You kind of need those press on your side at one point, and you play that every week. I think eventually it gets old. Right now it's really fun, but I think eventually that gets old as a head coach.
well, that's an interesting point that you make there because I think right now it works now because of how he's entered into the collegiate ranks as a coach. He tried to get in at some of the bigger programs, if you will, and then no one took him, and so he went to a FCS school, went in there, showed that he could recruit, right?
Yep.
Showed that he has that power, that cachet. He's able to pull players, right? right off the bat. Just basically follow him everywhere. I mean, because for bringing in top players to Jackson State, to bringing in top players to Colorado, of all places, right? They haven't been good since the '90s. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
like, like he has that ability, but it's also a low bar right now. You know what I mean? There's really nothing to lose at this point. So I think that's when we'll see the difference. Now, if
Yep.
he does go to a blue blood program and all the players flock to him, then it looked like it might be whoever school Dion's at versus whatever versus Georgia. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? I think at the end of the day, if he does get caught up into a blue blood program, it might be the end of Alabama. You know what I'm saying? Unless he goes to Alabama. I think Georgia and whatever school Coach Prime is at, I think are going to get all the players in Ohio State.
Yeah, I
Might
think.
have a might have a 3-team league.
Why does he even need to go to a blue blood program? If he can bring the players in, why not just make Colorado what he can make it? I mean, Colorado played for national championships in the early '90s. I mean, he could stay there and build that and do that. I don't know. Um,
Uh,
he gets to live in a pretty cool place, so I don't know. But
yeah, I heard it's nice out there.
my boy Jeremy Scrimmager asked a question. I didn't see it pop up, but he said, there it is. Is there a potential L on the calendar, a game that will be closer than y'all prefer? And we kind of talked about this last week. I mean, we got back-to-back games with Ole Miss and Tennessee. Ole Miss at home, Tennessee on the road. I think those are the two that we're definitely circling. That I'm definitely circling as those are going to be the two biggest challenges we face this year. But again, like I said in the season preview show, I think it all depends on how those teams do going in. I think if they're fighting for a chance to go to the conference championship game, it's a whole different game than if they're sitting at 4 or 5 losses. So to me, those are the two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as this SEC schedule plays out, I'm less and less sure that we're going to get challenged. Tennessee hadn't necessarily looked the best either.
yeah, they didn't.
That Auburn California game was basically unwatchable. Like I watched the first half and I was like, this is just an awful game. I don't think Auburn has a quarterback. They were shuffling guys in and out, and none of them looked good. And I just at this point, you got to hope. I mean, Ole Miss almost lost to Tulane. Um, yeah, it's Tennessee or bust right now. Tennessee's the only team that I see, and again, it has a lot to do with being on the road in that environment as well. Um, maybe, I mean, again, Ole Miss is at home, so I'm hesitant to say that's going to be a close game. So yeah, it's Tennessee or nothing right now.
Yeah, I don't really see a threat out there. I think the biggest threat will probably be the SEC championship game, and
I
that
will
will.
say,
Oh, go ahead, Brooks.
I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see how LSU bounces back. Um,
Hmm.
I think they bought into the hype against Florida State. I don't think they played their best. I don't think that's a true indicator of how good they are. Let's just say that. So I'm interested to see how LSU bounces. They had a scrub team last week. They played Mississippi State this week. I'm interested to see them because I do think talent-wise they are on kind of that next tier. I think they're still a little below us, but I still think they have a lot of talent. I think Jaden Daniels is a good quarterback. Uh, so I'm interested to see how they bounce back. That could be it could be a team that tests us, and that would have to be an SEC championship game, of course.
Yep. You got anything else on that, Bone?
Nah, man, I think that's right.
Okay. All right. We have another one here from David. Let's see what David's talking about here. Speaking of press, we were talking about the press earlier. What do you think of Shane Beamer's personality? Is South Carolina dead, or can he get them back to the fringe? Get them into that top 25 level.
I think Shane Beamer has the perfect personality to be South Carolina's coach. I mean, South Carolina fans, all my family's from Columbia, South Carolina, and so I have a bunch of family that's friends. They're happy with a good year every 3 years. They want to make a run every 3 to 4 years. I think he's a coach that can get them there. I think he's fun to watch. I think he excites the fan base. I mean, their fan base doesn't just automatically sell out games every year, although they do have a really big, strong fan base. They don't, and I think they need a guy with some personality. Like they used to have Spurrier. Lou
Yeah,
Holtz at one time. I mean, I think he's good for South Carolina. That was a tough loss they had this year in North Carolina. That was a loss they shouldn't have had. But, yeah, I do think he can be a fringe top 25 guy, finishing top 3 in the SEC East.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to build, like we've talked about. He's got to build his line of scrimmages up to compete in the SEC. He's got to pick up the recruiting in that aspect. If you're going to compete with the Georgias and the Alabamas and the LSUs, you got to have more depth at the line of scrimmage and talent at the line of scrimmage. So he's got to focus there. I think he's done a good job of getting skill people in. I thought Spencer Rattler was a really good transfer pickup. So he's gotten that part down, but man, he's got to focus on that line of scrimmage. And the other thing I'll say is, like, this other program in South Carolina is looking like it's on the kind of downward trend. These Clemson Tigers have not looked good. Struggled mightily, last week against a scrub team and kind of pulled away at the end there. But man, this Clemson team with Dabo Swinney looking like he's kind of getting left behind in this Neal era. I think South Carolina got to be, that kind of bodes well for South Carolina as well.
Well, how about this question, gentlemen?
Ooh.
What's the biggest threat to UGA this season? Let's go ahead and let's widen this up because obviously what we're seeing so far in the Southeastern Conference, uh, maybe one game, maybe a one off in the championship game is a one and done scenario might be the toughest, the best chance at getting knocking Georgia down. But just use the whole United States. Which team out there that you that you guys have the most concern about? Biggest threat.
Oh man.
I mean, I know this is crazy, but the team I'd probably least like to play right now is Texas. Now,
Wow.
Texas could Texas it up and still lose 3 or 4 games this year. But, I mean, after what I saw with them with Alabama, the momentum they have right now, I feel better probably playing anyone in the country right now over Texas.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. I think FSU, that was a really impressive win over Florida State, really impressive win over LSU. So
Yeah.
that's something to watch. Again, Texas, when you dominate the line of scrimmage against Alabama, you got my attention. And that's what it takes. That's what it's going to take to beat UGA. I'm not worried about the flashy skill people like USC. Like, I just don't think they can compete at the line of scrimmage. Like, Caleb Williams is a really good player, and he'd probably run around and make some plays. But
Yeah.
I got to see. It's got to be teams who I think can compete on the lines of scrimmage with us. And when you whoop Alabama, you got my attention. So yeah, I got to say Texas right now.
Yeah. I also saw Colorado come up, but I think we all agree that they're not quite ready for that yet. They're not ready for that. Um,
That spread's probably higher than South Carolina, right?
Which
30?
one?
Like, what would the spread be right now? So, Colorado, Georgia. I think it'd be 30. I think it'd be more than South Carolina.
Yeah, I think it'd be 25-30. I
yeah.
think Georgia would probably be 8 or 9 point favorites over Texas right now. I think that'd probably be the closest. I mean, Ohio State, Michigan, Texas. I think all those be right there.
Yeah, I can't buy into the Michigan. I've seen what happens there.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
now, did
I think
I hear
Texas,
on
I
how?
think you're right. I think Texas would be the closest line right now.
Yeah. So I think Texas, based on what we've seen so far. But what about did we mention Ohio State? Did I miss
They
anything on
got
Ohio
to
State?
win. They got to win their conference, man, or their conference. And like, I think the tide's turned a little bit there with Michigan.
Okay.
But I mean, they're recruiting every year. It's Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. I mean, just right there in the top 3. Texas is right there on the fringe. But when Brooks talks about line of scrimmages mattering, it's those guys that recruit top 5 year in and year out, and those are the people that can compete with you no matter what every year because they got their lines together. And
Yeah.
I mean, so I put out my playoff teams after week 2. Brooks. What do you think? Who do you think your 4 would be after week 2?
I mean, you definitely got Texas. You definitely got UGA. You definitely got, I think, Florida State after that win over LSU. And then the fourth one, it's a kind of a toss-up for me. Not really sure where you go with the fourth one. I guess I'd throw Michigan in there right now.
Yeah, it's Michigan or Ohio State, I would imagine.
It's one of those two, right? And I'll give the edge to Michigan. I like McCarthy he's a really good returning quarterback. I'm not sure, I need to see more out of Ohio State's quarterback. I'll throw Michigan in there.
I think starting out this year, there are a lot of people predicting kind of 2 SEC teams, and I think that's not popular anymore. I don't think there's a second SEC team that people are seeing as a playoff contender. But Alabama could come back. LSU could come back, run the table, make the SEC West, win the SEC West or the SEC championship game.
Yeah, the pattern. The way to get into the playoffs with the loss is to lose early.
Yeah.
Yep.
Both LSU
especially out of conference.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If you're gonna lose early. You got time to get back into the race. Yep.
Yep, for sure.
Better lose early than late. You know what I mean? So that's good. Gentlemen, any closing remarks for tonight?
I'm excited about Saturday, man. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere and a fun game, and I think Georgia's going to wake everyone up nationally again and say, okay, this is for real again, and we're gonna put it out there. I think I'm looking at a 25-30 point win, and I think Carson Beck's going to have a great game. I think that we're going to shut down their running game, and they're going to end up with 250, 300 yards passing, and still lose pretty big. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for Saturday.
Yeah, there's not much on this home schedule, so these fans gotta get up when they can. And the 3:30 SEC opener against South Carolina, that's going to do the trick. So it's going to be probably one of the better atmospheres in the stadium because of the weak home schedule. So there's going to be a lot of energy in this crowd. You're going to see Kirby open it up on the offense and defense a little bit more. Which I'm excited to see. And I think we just throttle South Carolina by at least 20. And I think Georgia separates itself as really the tier, that top team in the SEC, and that in a tier by itself. As you look at all the other teams like LSU and Alabama already losing. I think we take care of business. We establish ourselves in that top tier by ourselves in the SEC. So that's what I think.
Yeah. All right. Definitely pulling away from the pack for sure. Speaking of the pack, do you guys think that a Pac-2 team gonna make it? Let's say USC. Let's see if USC runs the table. Would they be a team that could make it, or will it take that? Let's just put it that way. It would probably take them to run the table, right?
Yeah. I think they got to run the table to get in.
What's the wild stat? Pac-12 was like undefeated until Cal lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were like 14-0 or something starting off the year. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
I think USC has a chance.
You think Auburn has anything going on? They're 2-0. You think they might make a run in the West here?
Man, their quarterback play was just horrendous, though, man. And anytime you're kind of going quarterback rotation, that never works. You hate to see that.
If you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Robbie Anderson again, kind of a really good athlete, but man, he doesn't seem like he has what it takes to be an actual. I don't think he has the throwing ability. I'll say. To make reads, kind of like in that Milroe mold, I believe. So I just don't think they have a quarterback. It's weird to me because these quarterbacks are. The better quarterbacks are on teams you wouldn't expect. South Carolina, I think the guy from Arkansas is really good. So that's.
You mentioned North Carolina quarterback. Remember that you mentioned North Carolina quarterback in the preview.
Oh, Drake Mays.
Heisman talk. Yeah.
I was surprised to see that the Ewers guy from Texas was like the number 6 rated quarterback. He looked good to me. I think his stock might rise a little bit after that. So
Yeah, I mean he was the $1 million quarterback, right? What his NIL deal that he got at Ohio State? Like
Yes.
they're loading up over there at Texas. They're I think going to be ready when they come into the SEC versus an Oklahoma, which I don't think is going to be ready at all. But I think Texas is loading up, and they're loading up the right way. We just got to see if they can win the games they're supposed to win. That's the key with Texas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But man,
oh god.
God is carrying. He was right now.
Yeah,
What a
Ewers became a religious man apparently in the off season, so there's been a lot of talk about
The other thing about this game on Saturday, the last game on Saturday, Ball State. So we got that punt return, and the analyst said this is Georgia's first punt return in like 16 years. And I thought to myself, I was like, that can't be right. And it wasn't right. It was like 4 years ago, and I was like, how do you get that so wrong?
Do you guys know? Do you guys know what Georgia's last home SEC loss was?
South Carolina.
Wow. Was it
South
Alabama?
Carolina, no, South Carolina, 2019.
You
Wow.
talk about a brutal game. That game was awful.
Yeah. So we just need to avoid that this year.
Who's the last team to beat UJ out of conference? Ooh, good question.
Wow.
Was it
Oh, you don't know the answer. Okay.
was it Texas in that bowl game?
Yeah, I think that's what it is because it's the Texas fan chiming in. It was probably it had to be. It had to be the bowl game in Texas. Yeah.
The Sam Ellinger led Texas team, I believe.
Yeah, where they attacked our sweet bulldog with their cow.
Hey, was that at the Sugar? That was in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, that was a Sugar Bowl, yeah. Yeah.
I tell you, Jeremy is something else.
He's a
Man.
mess. Yeah.
Hey, look, that's gonna be an epic. That's gonna be a hard ticket to get there. The Georgia Texas game.
I'm going to the Houston Texas game, so I'll give you guys a good report after that game on
Oh,
Texas,
please.
whether they're real or not. Yeah.
Yeah. If
right.
you're a college football fan right now, you want UGA and Texas in the championship game right now. I mean, that would be really, really fun to see.
Yeah. Yep, that's big time. But yeah, so I guess great job, gentlemen. Appreciate you, giving that time again. I really enjoy uh being here talking with you guys, learning. I think great participation, like everybody who's chiming in. This has been great, man, and we look forward to the games this weekend. We're gonna come back, reconvene, and do this again. But before we roll, I think we got another last thought here from David.
Is that his last thought?
It was just
Oh, it's coming up. There it is. The over under on the beers
Oh boy.
from Sarkeesian.
I thought non-sober Sark was a better play caller in my opinion. Hot take, but
He was a little more edgy on the play calls. I think he does 20 O'Douls right after the game, and feeling good right afterwards. So I'm gonna continue with his sobriety. I'm gonna go down that road.
All right.
my hot take is that he wasn't a bad offensive coordinator when he was with the Falcons. That's my hot take. I didn't think they gave him a chance.
That's hot there, man. But looks like he's taking out his old mentor though. He's taking out Saban. You know what I'm saying? Like Saban kind of resuscitates a couple of coaches, and then they bounce back. So it
I'm
looks
glad
like
the assistant coaches are beating Saban. I was tired of that stat where all the assistant coaches were undefeated, and every fucking time, Saban would play an assistant coach, but he's 23-0. I'm glad they're finally beating him. Stop showing that stupid stat.
What's the
Yeah.
over-under on Mel Tucker being a special assistant at Alabama? I think
Ooh.
that's going to be. I think that's within 6 months. He's going to be a special assistant.
Well, he's next in line. Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
so
you can't have him. I don't know. He's not going to be on the recruiting trail because he's not. He can't be making phone calls. They're saying, they're saying,
They go.
oh, we just got canceled.
Yep.
oh man, all right, it's time to end the show.
Or hey, yeah. That's this. Mel Tucker. Hope everything works out for you. But yeah. Well, anyway, then we'll end it on that, right, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
It's time to end it.
All right. Well, look, damn good dogs. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We got another comment. Trying to get them all in.
No.
Trying to get them all in.
Oh man.
He hasn't
Maybe
stopped Hugh Freeze.
What if he joins? What if he joins the Texas A&M staff and he's got Petrino and Mel Tucker?
Oh my!
Yeah, that'd be a killer staff there.
Wow.
Yeah. Hugh Freeze, that hire was only second worst to me than the Bobby Petrino hire. My wife went to A&M and graduated from there, and I told her after the Petrino hire, I was like, I can't even root for you guys anymore when you're not playing Georgia. Like, I'm completely out on you. Tucker to Liberty.
Tucker to Liberty.
We're coming
No.
off the rails now.
Yeah. Wow.
Those guys from the Texas A&M call wanted Bobby Petrino's offense to work so bad. Oh my God! It was they mentioned his name every other sentence. Oh God.
Yep. Well, all right, guys. I guess we're done for today.
All right.
We'll do it again for the show. I'm Mr. 411. Thank everybody for tuning in once again for Damn Good Dogs. All right, we'll see y'all again on the other side.
Yes, sir. Good dogs.
Good dog.